Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Series with Kevin, where we add value to people's lives, happening every day at 12 on ebizradio.com. As always, our wonderful marketing and communications expert, Craig Page-Lee. Hello, Craig. How are you doing?
Yeah, Kevin, well, and you? Yeah, can't believe
Good.
it's a week already. Gosh.
Yeah, no, like time flies. It feels like we're speaking every other day, right?
I know. Yeah.
Craig, so we've had some really great conversations in the last couple of weeks, and I must say that I've learned a lot about the importance of the environmental awareness and the sustainable business practice when it comes to manufacturing of products, and that consumers are actually making purchase decisions based on the adoption of these very principles, right? So what was really interesting for me is to see how many brands are driving product packaging innovation as a way to demonstrate their adherence to these principles. For example, the edible packaging and the biodegradable or paper bottles. I can't still wrap my head around the paper bottles. I need to see one.
I must admit that I'm with you on that one. I haven't yet held a paper bottle in my hand. Yeah, but in fairness, as I did mention, it had a fine micro layer of plastic or whatever you want to call it internally, but that also only had a limited lifespan. But yes, I think we need to find out where to get our hands on some of these.
We need to, yeah. So with that in mind, before you tell us what we're going to be chatting about today, don't you want to give us a quick recap on some key takeaways of our last week's discussion?
Yeah, Kevin, great. Yes, so whilst I won't be focusing on the edibles and paper bottles, I'd like to recap on a part of the conversation that I found to be quite relevant, namely that of the connected package. And as you'll recall from the conversation, that digital technology is a key driver in packaging innovation, and in many instances enables a much more immersive and experiential engagement for consumers. And yeah, not just at moments of brand consideration, Kevin, but most definitely when opening the packaging to use the brand in question. And again, as when we spoke about influencers, you would see that, this is a particularly important part for brands where influencers are actually videoing that entire immersive experience and doing the multiple layers of opening a product and the tangible aspects of that. So yeah, to start off with, just to reiterate that the learnings that we went through last week were gained from information provided by Tetra Pak, which is the Swiss multinational food packaging and processing company. And as I mentioned as well, that I'd had some engagement with them working on a current project. So yeah, I have learned a hell of a lot in this particular space. And we definitely seeing more and more manufacturers are tapping into this connectivity enabled by digitalization. And with a simple, unique, scannable code on each pack, we're seeing that products are instantly being transformed into interactive media channels. And connected packaging solutions typically fall into two broad categories, Kevin. One being at the consumer engagement level, and the other merely for production and distribution and value chain measurement at the track and trace proposition. So from a consumer engagement point of view, the connected package becomes a gateway to an exciting new digital experience for consumers where they can simply scan the code to test the authenticity of a brand, going back to some of the previous conversations we had last week in terms of green tracking product and the likes, or unlock cool marketing campaigns with the scan and win promotions, loyalty campaigns, more product provenance information, etc. Consumer engagement definitely gives brand owners a way to break through the noise and the clutter on shelf, and a much more engaging way to target groups in ways that differentiate their offer, and obviously increasing loyalty and hopefully boosting sales. What's really cool again here is that consumer data can be collected on the back end, number of engagements, who entered competitions, where the geographic locations of this participation and things like that. So real rich insights can emanate from that. From the track and trace point of view, the unique code enables end-to-end traceability with that connected package platform, and it makes it possible to track products through the entire value chain from production, well, in fact, actually from sourcing, understanding the good sourcing principles, through to production, through to quality controls, and right the way through to the supply chain transparency. And so there's three key benefits that the platform brings, and it's not only to food manufacturers, Kevin. It's also to brand owners, retailers, and then consumers. So, in the manufacturer brand owner space, manufacturers will be able to track and trace the history and location of any product, making it possible to monitor for market performance and to track any potential issues. And as I said to you, could have been a recall in one particular environment, at least geographically, they can understand where that product is, how many have been dispatched, and manage that fallout in a very definitive way. For retailers and e-tailers, it offers great supply chain visibility with real-time insights, enabling retailers or e-tailers to track stock movements, receive alerts when issues occur, monitor the performance, transparency, through the entire value chain from a stock management point of view as well. For consumers, it enables access to loads of information, such as where the product was made, the farm that the ingredients came from, where the packaging can be recycled, and it also opens up direct communication channel for the favorite brand through some of the fun games and apps. And I think one of the important aspects here is it becomes a dialogue channel so consumers can start giving feedback as well.
Craig, second time I hear you speak about it like this, and the connected packaging, just for me, it's like, I think that's going to be such a game changer. It's going to be like, I really think we don't know the huge benefits that are actually going to come from this. But I mean, thank you for summing that up for us. I'm looking forward to this first immersive experience, and it's exciting to sort of see where it comes to, where it goes to. What are we going to be chatting about today, though?
Yeah, Kevin, I think what's been really cool is the last 3 sessions, we've actually developed a bit of a theme in our conversation where firstly we started with the green economy, which for our listeners was about sustaining and advancing economics, environmental and social well-being. We then looked at the approach and best practice relating to eco-environmental labeling and what the various logos and labels stand for, and what statements are coming forward on the packaging, what they actually mean for consumers. And then we concluded last week by looking at innovation and trends in actual packaging design and how marketers are using this to stand out on shelf and demonstrate their green commitment, and obviously using the likes of connected package to deliver some of that message. So, with that solid understanding in place, and the various concepts and principles that we've been through, I want to take it a step further and look at how brands are actually building social good platforms and communities for a cause, and how they're helping nonprofit organizations just beyond the financial grants that they often dish out, but by actually showing up when it counts.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, Craig. I do, however, see a golden thread possibly weaving through the last 3 episodes in this topic.
Yeah, Kevin, definitely. The golden thread, there is one for me, and it holds it all together. So let's again, I just want to start by setting some context here, because we really need to understand what this whole proposition is relative to our discussion. So I've come across a really interesting platform, investopedia.com, Kevin, and it's a great American finance website which serves a host of content resources on various topics, but it has a particular bias to financial products and services. And I was quite surprised to find the kind of content that I did on there, and I want to open the conversation with that, because it really was meaningful and purposeful when I picked it up. So we read that social good is something that benefits the largest number of people in the largest possible way, such as clean air, clean water, healthcare, and literacy. Also known as common good, social good can trace its history to the ancient Greek philosophers and implies a positive impact on individuals or society in general. It also provides the basis for charity or philanthropic work. So the site goes on to state that in recent times, social good is used to refer to corporate initiatives that aim to enhance the social contract of corporations by promoting practices that are better for the environment and overall society. Corporations gain employee trust and loyalty by providing them with a sense of purpose, and social media has become an important tool to promote social good. So great, Kevin, again, what's really great to see here is the entrenched belief that companies only exist to provide maximum shareholder return, and everywhere you turn in the industry, you get a sense of that and feel for it. But yeah, the sad reality there, that doesn't align with the fundamentals of serving common good and supporting initiatives such as promoting the clean air that I spoke about, the safe drinking water, shelter, or financial independence. Corporations are beginning, however, they definitely are beginning to focus a little bit more of their financial means onto these corporate sustainability efforts and responsibility programs. And at the end of the day, that's got a much more positive impact on the broader public. So the business models are definitely needing to evolve to include more work that promotes such social good in their day-to-day strategies and operations. And one way that this is achieved is definitely to align with and support these nonprofit organizations, as these entities are really the only ones that are working on the ground to bring value to the recipients of those particular programs. And the biggest challenge here is that organizations need to ensure that they support programs that align with their own core values and with their own belief sets, irrespective of the organization. It's not an easy task, but fortunately, again, as we found with the likes of the Eco-Label Index, there are platforms in place that list these various social good programs and work to try and pair and match. And I'll pick up on a little bit more of that later.
So, Craig, if that's actually the case, what is it that corporates are doing to supposedly promote social good in the day-to-day strategies and operations?
Yeah, supposedly such a great word. Yeah, a loaded question, Kevin. Yeah, some organizations are doing a huge amount on one end of the spectrum. They're actually developing and driving programs themselves. They're partnering with these nonprofit organizations to really drive value. While on the other end of the spectrum, they're just throwing money at challenges in the forms of donations. And they never really get involved in any of these on-the-ground initiatives. And not to negate the financial aspects and contributions, though, it's really the brands that show up and participate and lead from the front that are going to make the biggest impact in the space. And that is where the consumer money flow is going to go. So to pick up on that and give you a little bit more context to what they're actually doing, I came across an interesting read on one of my favorite sites, and that's fastcompany.com. And addresses this very, very question. The article titled 10 Most Innovative Social Good Companies of 2021, as posted on the 9th of March 2021, so a really current article. The article lists the following 10 companies as leaders in making a positive difference through their direct involvement in the programs that they support. So the list reads as follows. At number 1 is Ben & Jerry's. At number 2 is Urban Footprint. Number 3, TerraCycle. Number 4, The Body Shop. Number 5, 22 Squared. Number 6, SAS. 7, Colgate Palmolive. 8, 120 Water. 9, United Dwelling. And coming in the 10th there is Headspace. But Kevin, again, I reiterate that in so many of the programs we've done and the information that I'm able to find, there's a lot more depth of information relative to USA, Asia, China, Europe, and even Australia. And as such, locally based audiences might not know who some of those brands are, which in my instance, I think I only knew 4 or 5 of those brands. And because of that, I really just want to focus on a bit of depth of the actual programs that have been carried out by the 5 brands that I'm familiar with, at least the 4 brands that I'm familiar with. So those brands are Ben & Jerry's, The Body Shop, SAS, and Colgate Palmolive. So referencing those 4 brands specifically, let's have a look at what initiatives are actually behind them. So Ben & Jerry's, they're known for pioneering corporate activism. As a brand that considers itself an inspiring social justice company, Ben & Jerry's sees corporate activism as a core part of its business. In June 2020, after years of work to support the Black Lives Matter movement, the company put out a clear statement in support of George Floyd's death, in the wake of George Floyd's death. We must dismantle white supremacy is the statement they made. And through projects like a program called Justice Remixed, the company was able to work at grassroots activists to make tangible change, such as closing quite an old jail in St. Louis that was used to house people who couldn't afford to post bail. So really trying to understand where the social injustice principles were and working with on the ground activists to ensure that they can eliminate some of that. So big up to Ben & Jerry's, and I didn't know the depth of the project that they led. So well done. The Body Shop. Body Shop is known for implementing open hiring. Because of traditional background checks and educational requirements as a barrier for many job seekers, the Body Shop decided to begin using open hiring, a practice that offers a job to anyone who's authorized to work in the USA and answers a couple of basic questions around the job itself. When the company piloted the concept at a distribution center in 2019, it saw a decrease in monthly turnover of staff. So obviously it was working. In the late 2020s, it became the first large retailer to roll out this program across various retail stores. So again, really making a fundamental difference to mankind. SAS, known for automating one step of the process to protect endangered species. As climate change puts more pressure on endangered animals and plants, it's challenging for scientists to track the changes quickly enough to help at the right time. The software company SAS created a tool to help using AI and advanced analytics to comb through scholarly journals for the newest data on a species, shrinking a process that could take hundreds of hours to just a few. The information helps scientists conduct assessments more often and obviously quicker, and there could be a response to ensuring that we save more of these listed endangered species.
Yeah.
Colgate-Palmolive, Kevin, which is known for making the first recyclable toothpaste tube. It didn't say anything about it being a paper tube yet, but I'm sure that might well be coming.
Yes.
Yeah. So how's this for you? More than 1 billion toothpaste tubes end up in the trash each year just in the USA.
Wow.
And until recently, they were impossible to recycle because the way the multiple layers were created. Colgate-Palmolive spent 5 years developing a new type of tube made from HDPE instead. And just as a reminder, HDPE is high-density polyethylene, and it's one of the most versatile plastic materials in production and is used in the manufacture of plastic bottles, milk jugs, shampoo bottles, etc., Kevin. And you'll remember we referenced HDPE recently when we investigated the various symbols on our packaging systems, which then informs folk of the biodegradability or recyclability aspect of that particular product. So the design is still easy to squeeze and can be processed within the current recycling infrastructure requirements within the manufacturing process. So what's really important to understand here, Kevin, is that, not just those 4 brands that I picked up on, brands are not just focusing on making environmentally friendly and sustainable statements, but they're really working to address incredibly important social issues like racism, inequality, and gender bias. And these are the brands that are leading through the actions and not just donating, as I mentioned, of their profits to causes that they actually are disengaged from.
Craig, so I'm listening, and what's from my perspective and my insight to what I hear is, I had some conversations with industrial psychologists recently, and some really wise PhD candidates, and what's interesting is that there's a common thread starting to emerge in conversation, and just listening to these brands today doing what they're doing. Are you also noticing that, even from a marketing perspective, that brands are really starting to pay attention, and leaders in the world are really starting to pay attention to the impact that we have as humans? And it's almost like we're subtly starting to take responsibility, because the theme that we look at leadership, for example, the biggest core driver at the moment is EQ. It's an emotional intelligence, right? And it's a human thing that we're needing to connect to. It's not a case of just going, well, let's just do the numbers, put a system in place. Really getting our brains on board with people, humans.
Absolutely, Kevin. And even brands that aren't marketing, there are many great organizations that are actually driving programs within their businesses, and it's leadership that is understanding the importance of bringing the collective together to see the world in a different way, and to act in a way that every single day you're contributing to a little bit more longevity of the planet, and you're participating in programs that are hopefully going to redress and positively impact on ozone change and things like that. But definitely, it's as with the triple bottom line, your SGEs, the reporting mechanics to ensure that organizations are addressing these principles are fundamentally important and need to be embedded in every single shareholder report, every single commitment that organizations make. And it's not to say that they can't be profitable, but is what are you doing by using your profit to create the next generation of sustainability and make a positive impact on the planet?
Yeah, and not to steer away from this conversation, but like, from a marketing perspective, it comes back to the responsibility of that brand, especially if you're impacting large groups of people and you have that footprint. There's a responsibility that you now have, that even when you're marketing and when you're putting anything out there, the quicker and sooner you realize the impact that it's going to have on the environment and people using that product or that brand, the better for the brand, really.
Absolutely, Kevin. As you're saying that, I was just thinking about brands where they've got a high consumer experience interface to brands that don't. And there are many B2B brand sales teams, automated IVR based sales teams, where they don't necessarily come in contact with the end product and the experience downstream. So there needs to be a much stronger inward focus to educate, and it's the internal marketing campaigns that are vitally important in some of these instances as well. So whilst you can use the connected package to deliver a message to a consumer at its point of engagement, there are many other areas where high level emotionally connecting campaigns have to be done internally. So it's ensuring that the people EQ quotient within an organization is understood, and you driving programs to help change behavior from within an organization as well.
Yeah. So sorry, Craig. Getting back to my list of questions here. I know that you mentioned earlier in the show, we've touched on a few South African brands that we are committed to making positive differences to South Africans during the COVID pandemic. So, but taking that current topic into account, did you come across any South African brands that are promoting social good in their day-to-day strategy and operations?
Yeah, Kevin, I did. And you used the term, a phrase there, in delivering value for the COVID situation as well. There were a lot of brands who were doing things during COVID, whether it was intentional to fundamentally make a difference, or if it was on the back end of just trying to brand wash and get some extra value from consumers out of that, who the hell knows. But what I did is I came across an article published on Biz Community from as recently as January this year. And the article, titled "Brands That Harness the Power of Purpose in 2020, was written by Angela Northover, who's head of content at Eclipse Comms and communications. And her article opens with a really clear and concise paragraph. So let me read that for you. Brands looking to grow need to align with consumer values in ways that are genuine and sustainable. Consumers want to see initiatives that transcend the odd donation or empty platitude, and want to engage with brands that care and offer meaningful support. And the nice encapsulation of various topics that we've spoken about and defined in different ways. But at the end of the day, it really does talk to the points that we made earlier. And I'm glad to see that these brands remain committed to social good outside of just the major events like the COVID pandemic, Kevin. So on that point, from that article, I again just looked at four particular brands that I believe are doing some real good in South Africa. Number one that I selected there is Pfizer South Africa, underpinned by its brand position of breakthroughs that change patients' lives. Pfizer South Africa's investment in Unjani clinics have provided underserved local communities with basic human rights of affordable and accessible primary health care. Pfizer South Africa initiated the creation of 6 primary healthcare facilities, in turn creating jobs for the local community members and empowering women nurses and entrepreneurs and enabling an affordable and access healthcare solution. The next brand is one of my favorite brands, and I do participate in it. That's why I can say that is Carling Black Label. So during the national lockdown and the banning of alcohol sales, Lifeline received as many as 12,000 calls in March alone, reporting instances of gender-based violence. A month later, the surge of calls increased by 500%, Kevin, to 80,000 calls. Carling Black Label, hot on the heels of its highly successful No Excuse campaign, which was really, really a successful campaign, realized that many may not be able to call for help, and they initiated the Bravest Thing campaign, where users were able to send the word brave to the 0800 150 150 number on WhatsApp, and they could start a WhatsApp conversation with the bot, and the bot would then in turn direct them to particular routes of feedback based on their needs, which included dispatching emergency services or chatting to a counselor. And really wonderful to see the use of AI coming in to help folk in need without them needing to go into a long depth definition of what they're actually facing, because they may be giving it away with that particular person that's abusing them in the room, and being able to engage with a chat bot, a decision tree enabled them to get to an end point of where they could obtain assistance. So well done to Carling Black Label. The third brand is a brand that has been doing a lot of good work across the continent for a hell of a long time, and that is Isuzu Motors South Africa. And in this instance, it wasn't they often moving cross-border in the educational and reading space, but here in response to farmers in need, Isuzu Motors South Africa together with the Farmers Association, or Assist South Africa Association, provided aid to farmers and farming communities in areas that were adversely affected by the drought that we've been facing. And they were transporting critical fodder, farming essentials, food, water, and thus ensuring ongoing food security for South Africa. And yeah, it's great to see that brand step in the way it does in different ways and across different initiatives, Kevin. And the last one here is a wonderful partnership. Discovery Health and Vodacom. Yes, it is a COVID pandemic example, but they came together at the height of the pandemic in South Africa, and they implemented a virtual healthcare platform which offered South Africans free access to reliable COVID information, risk screening, and again, being able to get folk to communicate with the platform and lead you to an endpoint where you get the necessary feedback that you require.
It just goes to show, when stuff happen and things go awry, you get a bit of brain power in the room and look what's capable and what they're able to do, right?
Yeah, Kevin, absolutely. In fairness to the Biz Community article, there are many other brands that were noted in that article, and they definitely are demonstrating a broad approach to these kinds of programs being supported. But I just focused on 4 to sort of give a nice mix of the kinds of initiatives. But from a different angle this time, Kevin, I mentioned that there are a number of platforms in place that match the needs of social good programs with the intent of corporations. And I was quite touched by, again, another South African entity called forgood.coza. It's a South African online platform that lists various causes, charities and organizations that require contributions, either in the form of resources, goods, finance, and specifically time commitment from the broader public. And this platform represented a great opportunity to connect those needy organizations on the one hand to folk who want to support such causes and initiatives on the other end. So again, just to give a bit of a context there, For Good's in essence a social marketplace. Was that a plane?
Yeah, sorry, that was right that was very sudden.
For Good is in essence a social marketplace where skills, goods, services, and information can be easily offered by the public and businesses and asked for by the various charities and entities delivering social good projects. And lovely little quote from their site, Kevin. We're about matchmaking for good. Nice opening statement. Our mission is to create 1,000 social citizens. We aim to make doing good easy, fun, and free. We believe that you can change your community and the world for good. Use For Good to interact with NGOs, charities, and other needy organizations to offer your goods or services donations. No longer do you have to wonder where to start or how to begin. and really, really cool. So by connecting online at For Good, folk can definitely find ways to make a big difference in the areas they live in line with their interests. And all of those particular projects are making a real impact on the world around us, Kevin. So whether you're an individual cause or a community organization, doing good has never been this rewarding. For Good can be customized to run employee volunteer programs, giving the company unique features for its own community while exposing its volunteering and CI activities to the world. And I really like this particular aspect, because I came across a couple of other programs, Kevin, that play in the same space, where organizations are actually able to post what they're doing, and at least employees within organizations are able to post what they're doing and list the entities that they're interested in, and those respective companies would then pair and match like for like. So really, really great. But getting back to For Good, they offer organizations ways to outsource the employee volunteering, and they provide employees with volunteer and giving opportunities that are customized to their specific interests and locations. So these companies can then track the respective programs. They can incentivize the employees. They can report on the community engagements and the benefits that the programs are delivering. And they can receive the necessary training and support to motivate and keep their staff engaged. And what was interesting here, I counted, Kevin, over 500 initiatives that were listed in that particular portal. And those were initiatives that required time to be volunteered. And then I counted over 800 initiatives that were listed under the donation of goods or fundings portal. So, there's 1,300 initiatives right there already. And if you're getting, 100 folk per community, we're definitely way on our way to many, many, many thousands of people being able to step in and hopefully contribute. So, from building clinics at the one end to addressing a sharp increase in gender-based violence at the other end, many leading South African brands are committed to social good and are making a positive contribution to people in need in our country, and long may that last, Kevin. But most importantly, there is a way for each of us as individuals to participate and become involved and make a positive contribution. We just have to be motivated, and we have to schedule the time to make a difference more than once a year. 67 minutes is a great program, but we got to be committed and participating more than once a year.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we see there are many great initiatives and world-class brands supporting social good causes, how do these causes promote or advertise themselves apart from the online platform example you've just mentioned?
Yeah, Kevin, I actually came across two articles that support this particular question. And what I've done is I pulled a few points from the two articles to demonstrate how our organizations for social good are working. And, non-profit organizations fall into that category. So you'll hear me use the term quite frequently. And there are a couple of steps that really help increase exposure for these organizations, and hopefully on the back of that we can get a lot more support and buy-in from the public for their respective initiatives. So the first article that I read was from the Tech Soup blog, and it was titled 5 Social Media Trends for Nonprofits in 2020, published by Stephen Davidson on the 15th of January this year. The second article was found on the hootsuite.com, another great source that I thoroughly enjoy reading through. This article was titled Social Media for Nonprofits, 11 Essential Tips for Success, and it was published by Katie Sell on the 21st of September 2020. So while we've discussed social media platforms at length in one of our previous shows, Kevin, we definitely have learned the following about the specific relevance of each of these platforms for social good entities and initiatives from the two articles. And I want to give a quick overview of each of those. So the first thing here is these entities need to set up social accounts as nonprofits. Most social media platforms actually do offer special features and resources for nonprofits. Facebook and Instagram, for instance, allow nonprofits to add a donate button for fundraisers from their accounts. And YouTube also offers a suite of product resources, dedicated technical support, and fundraising tools for nonprofits. So great seeing the big three platforms out there, putting platforms in place to help drive this. Number 2 is add donation buttons. If your nonprofit collects donations, make sure you've added donation buttons on your Facebook and Instagram sites. It's definitely worth also adding links from your social media accounts to your website, your newsletter, and your email signatures, because this makes it much easier for people to connect directly with those organizations. And most importantly, Kevin, it gives them confidence that they're actually following official accounts and not just, somebody set up a dummy NGO in the back end who's really trying to pocket the money at the end of the day. Number 3, we talk about this often, share stories about people. People connect with people, and it is as simple as that. So these days, people increasingly want to know who's behind the brand or logo. We spoke about that on the back of the eco programs as well, and that's also true for nonprofits, especially since building and maintaining trust is an imperative. These entities need to show the audience who founded the nonprofit and why, and it's a great way to introduce the organization to prospective volunteers. Tell the stories about the people in the environments. Tell the stories about the communities that you've been helping through and sustaining. Yeah. Point number 4, create a content calendar. Content calendar allows the organization to plan ahead, anticipate key events that are important for the respective cause. For example, we know that many nonprofits will champion women's causes, and they'll likely want to plan for International Women's Days, Mother's Day, Gender Equality Week, etc. So don't forget traditional holidays. They're as important as anniversaries in this particular instance. Point 5, video stories and live streaming. So it's not just about telling stories, but it's about the quick videos. And often these videos are available for 24 hours in predefined communities to watch on platforms like Facebook, Insta, and Twitter. Nonprofits, again, are urged to use these stories to establish higher reach on their platforms. And videos are typically more noticeable compared to simple videos waiting in the algorithm's feed. So post them, get them out there. Live streaming, great proposition, another rising trend. Mostly with the world being in lockdown with COVID, we've had to resort to live streaming for just about every single conversation, much like this particular instance. So nonprofits really have had to adapt and adopt the live streaming for special events, for their communities. They're more interactive, and again, the likes of Facebook, Insta, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn all enable live streaming and sharing of that content on their particular platforms as well. TikTok, the good old TikTok that we chat about every now and then. The type of content that's been shared across TikTok, you may not necessarily think has any relevance to the world of nonprofits or social good, but more and more types of videos, such as the who's and how-tos and educational reels are being posted. So with that in mind, there's a great opportunity for nonprofits to actually create presence on the platform with possibly new kinds of audiences, and sharing the TikTok for Good page is dedicated to inspiring users to use the platform for good, and in enabling them to make it a reality in that very short moment, a snippet as well. WhatsApp, as expected, WhatsApp's a key platform in this environment. WhatsApp's business app allowed nonprofits to build their profile, and you're allowed to include up to 500 fundraising campaigns and products and service catalogs through the platform. These campaigns can easily be shared within the WhatsApp chat platform, and prospective funders and buyers can access them directly into the website and form them onto other peer groups. And finally, on this particular section, Kevin, chatbots. We spoke about chatbots twice now today. They're a phenomenal way to really bring programs to the fore. So if nonprofits receive the same question from multiple members of their community, it definitely could be worth setting up an AI-powered chatbot, which allows the organization to increase the conversation and the ability to interact with supporters at any time of the day, but also allows those organizations to get to understand what the conversation themes are, what the needs are, what the challenges and problems are in that particular environment, and that they can set up different responses based on those different rules. And interactions can also depend on keywords sent in the messages by the users, and they can provide specific pre-packaged responses to those particular keywords, Kevin. So Many nonprofits are now using messenger ad campaigns, and they're sending the bots straight to people's inboxes rather than their feeds. And this makes that direct engagement to reach the right audience in a more efficient way, much more beneficial. So, yeah, as you can see from those points, Kevin, there are many opportunities for nonprofits to leverage social media.
Yeah, Craig, like I've been privy to a conversation around TikTok recently, and what I didn't know is that when you sign up on TikTok, you have immediate feedback on your algorithms when you sort of and what you're posting. So you literally can share content that is relevant to stuff that's trending, and you can see what's trending sort of almost in real time.
Absolutely.
It's phenomenal. Like when you check out the TikTok and how it works, it's crazy how it's stepping its game up. It's really it's crazy.
The power of thinking capability and technical support behind that brand is just in another space altogether. It really is. Yeah.
So
yes.
I mean, just to wrap up today's conversation, what are the key takeaways that we need to take away from today, Craig?
Yeah, okay, Kevin. So yeah, we've covered a broad range from nonprofits to entities for social good and how they can use social media to promote themselves. But what I want to do is I want to close with 4 very simple tips that are essential for anybody wanting to establish themselves in the non-profit or social good space. And by adopting these simple tips, they'll definitely be able to position their cause, raise awareness, and hopefully gain support from the specific audiences that they're targeting. So again, referencing the article I mentioned earlier, Social Media for Nonprofits, 11 Essential Tips for Success, let me pick up on the 4 points that I've shortlisted here. So promote awareness. Education and advocacy is one of the first steps to affecting change. Share your nonprofit's message on social media. Communicate your mission to new followers and spread the word about these new initiatives, these campaigns and issues within your community, and connect with people who need support. Point number 2, build communities. Grow your base and recruit potential volunteers, speakers, advocates, and mentors. Social media can be a powerful community building tool for nonprofits. Create channels and groups where people can engage, share resources, and stay informed about the issues that matter to them. Inspire action. Rally behind your nonprofit with concrete actions that they can take to support your cause. Promote marches, protests, marathons, and other events. Encourage followers to call politicians, pressure or boycott bad actors and citizens, or simply adopt more mindful behavior, and of course, run fundraisers and collect donations. And lastly here, share your impact. Most importantly, show people what your nonprofit can accomplish. Build momentum by celebrating victories, irrespective of size, big or small. Let your contributors know you value their contribution and see how their help has made a difference. Share achievements, gratitude, and positivity, and you'll attract more and more supporters down the line.
I love that, Craig. I'm just listening that, this is aimed at how nonprofits really gain from using marketing for their brands. But everything you've just mentioned around these tips are, it applies to every brand, like promoting your awareness, building communities, inspiring action, sharing your impact, and essentially what people can take away from that. So I'm loving that, guys. If you want to find out more and follow how we are putting and formulating all this information together with the amazing brain that we have behind our marketing conversations, happens every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. And not Wednesday, I'm lying. Every Thursday. I was like, it's not Wednesday. That doesn't sound right. Every Thursday at 12 o'clock on ebusradio.com. Craig, just for our final lineup for next week, what is happening next week?
Yeah, Kevin, I want to take a specific focus next week and look at the financial services brands and see how they've navigated through the past year plus, particularly in light of the pandemic. And I'm wanting to understand if there's any evidence of innovation in the sector and what that means for consumers and their existing clients.
Fantastic. Guys, so stick around for us every Thursday, 12 o'clock, and Craig and I will be here chatting more about it. Craig, thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kevin. Looking forward to it.
Cheers for now. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Craig.